Yo, what's happening people, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down a Spanish-inspired guitar loop that I made. If you're new around here, make sure that subscribe button's great and click the bell next to it so you'll be notified anytime that I upload. So with all that said, let's get straight into it. So obviously the first thing I added was a guitar, and in this case I went with the FMov nylon guitar. I like this library because you got some extra control over the string and fret noises and some Foley sounds. Once you start messing with some of this, you can get some crazy realistic sounds out of this library. So for this loop I got my BPM set to 140, I'm working in D harmonic minor, and I've got my grid set to a third beat. So I'll quickly show you how the pattern sounds, and then I'm going to go through how I made it. So now I'm just going to delete this and we'll go through and make it again. So I came in and started on my root note, which is D. I then just made a triad from this. You can do that by just skipping one note in the scale and placing the next one, skipping the next note in the scale and placing the next one. All I did then was move some notes over to make an arpeggio and find a rhythm that I liked. Next I just copied this across, and all I did was bring the D and the F down a semitone. Then I'll just copy this across again because I'm going to add some variation onto this second half. So the next thing I did was came in and added some bass notes, and all I did for this was copied the root notes of the chord progression. However, with these C sharps, I'll just offset them a little bit to add a bit of rhythm. And then the last thing that I did was just come in and added some passing notes to go from chord to chord. And now the best way you can do this is to literally just play through your loop and try and figure out where you can hear them coming in. For the effects on this, I went with Guitar Rig with the Vocal Glue preset, Cymax Pluto with a Galaxy preset, FabFilter Pro Q with a low cut at around 100 Hz, and then I've got cuts at 300 and 3 kHz. And lastly, I added some panning with Shaperbox. I've got the mix turned down to 42%, and I've got the overall mix for the plugin down at 23%. Once all those effects have been applied, the guitar now sounds like this. So for my counter melody, I chose another guitar from the FMov bank, but this time I went with the acoustic guitar. The first guitar that I used had nylon strings, whereas this one's got steel strings, so they're going to have slightly different sounds. I kept the pattern for this one quite simple, and I just added these little triplet rolls at the end and made the velocities ramp up a little bit to keep it interesting. So this is how the counter melody sounds without any effects. To this, I again went with guitar rig, but this time I went with the vocal space preset, and I just came in and adjusted the gain on some of these knobs. We got another cymatics Pluto, this time with the Moon 1 preset, and I'll just come into this drop down box and turn the magnitude down. Then lastly, we got an EQ with a low cut at around 130 Hz, and then cuts at 3 and 500 Hz. Now this is how the counter melody sounds. Next I went for this trumpet patch from the Spaghetti Western Bank in Contact. I found when making guitar melodies, wind instruments are going to sound good most of the time. Because I'm going for the Spanish vibe in this loop, I'm going to be using a trumpet. So again, I kept the melody simple and just followed some of the notes from the chord progression, and this is the melody that I came up with. So what I then did with this is duplicated it and made one unique and just stripped back some of the notes from it. This just means that I've got a nice simple version for the first half and then a more complex version for the second half of the loop. For the effects on this, I've just got an EQ cutting out quite a lot of the low end. Then we got cymatics Origin with a wobbly tape preset, and I just like to come in and turn this noise dial all the way down. Then lastly, while I got this track selected, I'm just going to come over to my reverb bus and adjust it till I find the sound I like. So now we go back to the Ilya FMR Bank, but this time I'm going with the bass guitar. Again, I kept this really simple and just followed the root notes of the chord progression and just broke up this C sharp to keep that rhythm going. So for the effects on this, I've gone with guitar rig again. This time I went with the FET bass preset, and I've just gone in and adjusted some of the gain knobs. And lastly, I added FabFilter Saturn with the Magic BM preset, and I just turned band 1 down to about 19 decibels. So the last thing I added to this loop was this lap steel sound from Labs. Now I wanted this layer to just hang off the grid a little bit and add a bit of atmosphere. So again, I've just used notes that were already in my chord progression and just found a nice simple pattern. Now for the effects on this, again we're cutting out a lot of the low end. I've got RC20 with a vinyl 3 preset, and I've just turned the wobble as well as the noise off. And lastly, I've got halftime with a 1/8 preset, and I've just got my low cut at around 200 Hz. So once I've added all of that, it now sounds like this. So now that I've added all the instruments, we can hear how the final loop sounds. So that is going to bring us to the end of today's video. If you learned anything or if you liked the video, make sure you smash the thumbs up before you leave. If you're new around here, turn that subscribe button grey and click the bell next to it so you won't miss out on any future uploads. If you're still here at the end of the video, then big up you. It honestly helps me out a lot. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to catch you all in the next one.